We are live. What's up, my friends? Abby here, and welcome to the Write With Me live stream, our third session for NaNoWriMo 2024. First things first, tell me if you can see me and hear me okay. Fair warning that I want to get out there right away is that I have been having a lot of Wi-Fi trouble lately. So hopefully this live stream will go okay. Hopefully everything will run smoothly. But in the event that something goes terribly wrong and we lose Wi-Fi, just know that is why the live stream ended. So just be aware of that. Hopefully we won't lose Wi-Fi. Hopefully everything will be okay. But yeah, tell me if everything looks good on your end. Type in the chat and tell me where you're tuning in from as well. So this is our third session, and honestly, November feels like it is screaming to a finish very soon. I can't believe it's already November 20th. Oh, where did the time go? It's crazy. But tell me where you're tuning in from and what you're working on. What's your nano project? Or what is, if you're not doing NaNoWriMo, which some of you aren't, what is the project that you are currently working on? I'd love to hear about it. Let's see, lots of writers tuning in from all over the world. I see the Philippines, Scotland, Missouri, awesome, India, Brazil, Virginia, Norway, Netherlands, New Mexico, Louisiana. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you guys are here and so glad that you can make it. If this is your first time at a Write With Me live stream, here's how it's structured. We're going to do 3 writing sprints today, 25 minutes on, 5-minute breaks in between. And during those breaks, we will chat about our books and I can answer some questions that come up in the chat. And it's generally just like a super chill, relaxing time where we all get to come together and work on our projects as a sort of community effort. It definitely helps with accountability, I find, to show up together and all be making progress on our works in progress. So, looks like there's lots of different books being written and writing projects. So cool. I love seeing all the different writing projects that you guys are taking on, because there's always so many different writers here working on novels or maybe memoirs or short stories or something completely different, maybe writing a screenplay or even just writing something for school. Whatever you are working on today, absolutely fine, even if you're editing. It doesn't have to be exactly writing. So hopefully you are ready to get some work done. It's going to be a productive session, I can tell. And while we are here, I'm also going to hop over to the Writing Sprint channel in Discord and start the sprint over there. So if you're in Discord, feel free to join over there. If you're not in Discord, definitely consider joining. You can join when you join my Patreon at any level. The link to that is below this video. But it's kind of fun because we do writing sprints in there all the time. And if you like the whole community aspect of chatting with other writers, sharing your work, discussing ideas, discussing books and movies and story, then definitely you would love the Discord community. So check that out. Otherwise, stay here on the live stream because we're going to have our timer set up here, and I'm going to set a timer that will ring when our first 25 minutes is up. Okay. So if you guys are ready to get started, I'm ready to get started. Today I am working on my historical fiction novel. I don't know if I'm going to start writing right away because I actually have to do a little bit of outlining because I have to figure out what exactly needs to be accomplished in this next chapter. So I'm probably going to outline in this first sprint, and then I might start getting into writing a chapter. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I like to at least have like several chapters, a rough outline of several chapters sketched out before I start diving in, because I need to know like where it's going. Okay, a super chat came in from Shaylon. Thank you so much. Going to be working on my in real life job, but this format will help me take breaks. Happy writing, all. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. And even though you're working on your job, that's totally fine. It's still participating in the live stream to be hanging out with us. So I appreciate you being here and thank you for the super chat. Okay, so let's start our timers and get into the first sprint, and we will talk in 25 minutes. that is sprint number 1 finished. How did it go? Type in the chat, let me know. Hopefully that was a productive sprint for you guys. It was for me. I'm starting to kind of see the structure, how these next chapters are supposed to be, which is what I was trying to figure out during that sprint. Okay, so I'm going to return to that in a couple minutes. First, let's take a short break and tell me how that sprint went. I'm going to just check to see if any super chats came in. Yes, another super chat came in from Shalon. Thank you so much again for the super chat. I lied. I caved and I'm working on my fantasy novel at work. Don't tell my boss. Actual question. In Scrivener, what are good ways to keep track of different drafts? I've tried the snapshots, but not sure that is best. Yeah, so that's a good question. There's several different ways you could keep track of them. I use the snapshots, like you said. That is probably my favorite way to keep track of drafts, but I know that it's not like the best way to read the draft because it's like really small when it's in the sidebar. What I do a lot of times for different drafts is I will, once I finish my first draft, I will just export the entire document into a Word document or a PDF, usually a Word document so I can edit it. And then I just save that in a separate folder in my computer as like, this is the first draft. And then that way I can go into Scrivener, I can make changes, and then I can export it again as another draft. Now that just kind of turns it into a Word document, but you could go one step further and just copy your, or like duplicate your, all your chapters, put them in a new folder in your Scrivener and have that be draft 1, and then work from your other draft to create draft 2, 3, etc. So there's different ways you could do it. I like to keep it pretty simple with just exporting my old drafts into Word documents because usually I don't ever revert to anything that I had before, but it is nice to have that if you need it. Okay, so it looks like you guys had a good sprint. Fantastic. Let's see, I'm going to look for some more questions. Kelly asked, I've wanted to know what is your favorite books and characters? It's so hard to choose, but probably my favorite books are Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I love Jane Austen so much. I have a lot of favorite books, honestly, but like, yeah, Jane Austen is definitely my favorite author, and I just love how her stories feel so, the characters feel so well developed, so meaningful. They all have really good character arcs, and they all like serve a great purpose in the story. Just fantastic storytelling all around. But there's too many books to choose from. It's hard to choose favorites. Renee gave a super chat. Thank you so much, Renee. You asked, have you entered any of your books in contests? No, I have not. That is an interesting thing to pursue, though, for writers who are wanting to get their work out there and sort of see what feedback you receive and what response you receive from your work and just have a new experience. I think that's definitely a fun thing to try. I've never personally tried it, but I think it would be pretty cool. And an interesting way to get feedback on your writing for sure. Another super chat came in from Richard. Thank you so much. What is a good way to decide which subplots to keep and which ones to throw away? I think my book is becoming a little overcrowded with subplots. That's a good question. I think the way to really determine like whether a subplot matters is to ask yourself, how does it impact the main character and the main character's plot? So that to me is how I determine if a subplot is meaningful. If it has like literally no impact on the protagonist's story and it doesn't really have a deciding vote in how the story ends, or it doesn't, intertwine the side character's conflict with the main character's conflict, then you might want to consider deleting it or changing it. You can always change a subplot to make it more significant. So let's say you have a subplot where you have this side character doing something that's completely unrelated to the main character, but you still feel like you want that subplot in there. Well, could their actions and behaviors and the decisions they make on the side ultimately have an impact that kind of circles back around and affects the main character? And how are these things like all connected? That is something that I think makes a subplot feel really good and really solid and well planned, is when everything is sort of connected and there's this ripple effect that the different plots have on each other. And like I was just talking about Jane Austen, to me, like she does such a great job with subplots, making all the side characters matter, making them have like personal significance for themselves, and then also for the main overarching plot and the protagonist's story. Last question I will grab before we hop off here, or not hop off, but go into the next sprint. Christine asked, do you ever get scared to start a story out of fear of messing it up? Any advice would be great. I think this is definitely a very normal thing for most writers to feel, is intimidation, and like maybe it's not the right time to write this story. Maybe you're not seasoned enough, maybe you're not experienced enough, or maybe you're just not ready to write it. Definitely like trust your gut with that. And if you feel like you genuinely aren't ready to write it, then maybe you give yourself more time. But if it's just fear that's stopping you because you're afraid that it won't be good enough, I would say just push aside that fear and write anyway. Write anyway, because you do not have to write a perfect first draft. Nobody does. All the books on your shelf are not first drafts, okay? So just go into your first draft knowing that everybody has to edit their books a lot and revise a lot to make their books better. So it's okay to make a first draft that just makes the book exist and isn't perfect. Okay, so just try to push aside the fear. I know it's difficult, but just focus on where you are right now and why you love the story. Try to bring the passion into it. Try to bring just the playful fun and joy. And I think you'll find that that helps to stop yourself from intimidating yourself, is really what it is. Because you're capable of it. You're capable of writing this. You're a good writer. You can do this, but you're just kind of overwhelming yourself. So stop intimidating yourself and just do it. Hopefully that helps. Okay. I just set up a new sprint in Discord, and let's set our timers and go for another sprint. Sprint 2 out of 3. And I'm going to hopefully finish up my chapter card outlines, and then I might start drafting a new chapter. We'll see. Okay, let's get into it. Sprint number 2 is done. Tell me how it went in the chat. Hopefully that was a productive sprint for you guys. I basically finished my chapter card outlines. One last line here. I just have one more actually, which is the epilogue. We have a super detailed outline for that. Okay, cool. So actually, I just finished sketching all the rest of the chapter cards for the rest of this book, which is, let's see, 9 more chapters plus an epilogue. So 10 more chapters. Cool. Awesome. So I'm happy with the progress I just made there. Again, I'm outlining, I'm not writing, so I don't really have a word count, but it looks like you guys wrote a lot of words. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so we'll take a quick break here and then get into our last sprint in a few minutes. First, I will answer a few questions. Let's see. Ivy Squad asks, how would you go about writing a story where the protagonist dies near the end? Should I just stop the story where she does and write an epilogue, or should I switch to a different point of view? It really depends on like how much more story there is to be told after the character dies, but I would say probably switch to another point of view if you have one to switch to, because I can see where that would be a little bit confusing maybe if it just ended there, without fully knowing like the conclusion to some things. So it's kind of nice to be able to switch to another character's point of view and see that perspective on like, okay, what happened? What happens next? How are some of the other threads of the story wrapped up, and how do you have resolution? Unless you are writing a series and this is like going to be sort of the cliffhanger or the shocking ending plot twist that moves into the next book. If that's the case, then maybe just end with it and have it be mysterious and like surprising and then move into the next book. That is one option. But yeah, it really depends on how much more story has to happen after that and like the structure of your books themselves. Let's see. Umal asks, my story feels boring, not sure where to move it. What do I do? So whenever I'm bored with a story or I feel like it's missing something, I try to ask myself, okay, what element could I bring into this story to make me really in love with it? Like, what would be the most self-indulgent thing to add to this story? And sometimes that can be as simple as like adding a trope that you're really a big fan of, or some element, or adding a point of view, or adding maybe making the tone a little bit different. I actually have a whole video on my channel called what to do if you're bored with your story. I think that's literally what it's called. And it kind of goes into my brainstorming process of like different prompts and stuff you can ask yourself to really just spice up your story and make it more enjoyable for you to write. So I recommend checking out that video. Let's see. Alex asked, how do you go about getting your self-published book on Audible? I've recently begun listening to 100 Days of Sunlight. I'm enjoying it. I'm usually into fantasy, but I decided to try. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying 100 Days of Sunlight. I actually distributed my audiobooks through Findaway Voices is the company, which has been recently bought by Spotify. So they're a pretty big company, pretty reputable and well-known among the indie audiobook industry. And the process of uploading my audiobook and distributing it through them was really simple, very straightforward. The hardest part of the audiobook, obviously, is recording it and engineering it, you know, producing it, making it sound really good. But then once you have that, definitely a good option is to use Findaway Voices. You could also use ACX, is Amazon's specific one that just goes to Audible. But I went through Findaway because I wanted it available in libraries as well as other audiobook platforms like audiobooks.com, Google Play, etc. So different options are available for indies, but yeah, I use Findaway Voices and I like it. Another super chat came in from Richard. What projects is Kate working on? Good question. Kate is working on several different projects, and me and her are still working on our urban fantasy series together, which is in kind of the editing stage. We have the first few books of that drafted, but they are messy first drafts at the moment. So we are kind of in the revisions and editing stage with those books. And yeah, we're hoping to move forward with publishing on those. Hopefully next year we can start moving that ball down the court, as they say. But yeah, we're really excited to share that with you guys. Okay, one more question before we get into our sprint here. Let's see. Samantha Rose asked, Abby, how do you title a story? I need advice on this. This is honestly a difficult question because it's different for every writer. For me, how I title a story is either the title comes to me before I even write the book, and that's the best situation, is when you think of a title and you're like, oh, this would be perfect. But oftentimes that doesn't come to me first. I have to think of a title later, and then it's really difficult to think of a title. So usually what I do is I try to make like a list of elements that are meaningful to the story. So that could be places, different things in the story, different themes, different objects that appear that are meaningful, literally anything. Just like make a document of kind of just a word dump of like all the words that could be used to describe aspects of this book. And then once you're looking at that list, you can kind of brainstorm a little bit of how we can arrange these words and these ideas, these concepts and visuals into a title. And if that sounds like really conceptual and vague, I apologize. This is really more of like, it's kind of like just something to brainstorm with. Okay. And definitely I recommend getting feedback on your title ideas. What I usually do is I ask my friends, my writing partners, my close people, what they think of my title ideas. And I try to come up with a bunch of them and then just kind of like beta test them on my potential readers and see what they think. And I'll even ask my editor sometimes. If it goes to my editor and I still don't have a title, I will ask her opinion on my title options. So really just get a lot of feedback and try a lot of things. Don't be afraid to just like color outside the lines and try different things. And you can also gain inspiration from just going to a bookstore and scanning titles and sort of getting the structure of them in your mind can help with the brainstorming process. Okay, it's 11:11 where I am. Let's set up our next sprint. Our third and final sprint, guys. Finish strong. I'm going to restart. Start another sprint in the Discord. Join over there. Because I think I might do some drafting now. I don't know. I still feel like I have some outlining to do, but at least I have all my sketches for my next 10 chapters, which are my last 10 chapters. Crazy. I might even finish this book before the month is over, which would be amazing. And yeah, okay, let's finish strong. 25 minutes on the clock. Let's go. Okay, sprint number 3 is finished. Type in the chat, tell me how it went. Hopefully this whole session has been productive for you guys. I started drafting my next chapter. I wrote 333 words. And like I said before, I was able to outline the chapter cards for the rest of my book. So really happy with that. Happy with how those are turning out. I might still add some more because they're kind of just rough sketches, and I'm not sure if I want to add more to the ending climax, but we'll see. Sometimes the outline changes as I'm writing the first draft. So always good to keep your options open. But awesome. It looks like you guys had a great sprint and that you had a good session. You got a lot of words written. Wonderful. Fantastic. Okay. Well, great job, everybody. I'm glad you enjoyed this writing session today. And like I said before, if you enjoy the community aspect of chatting with other writers and sharing your work and sharing your updates and doing word sprints, writing sprints every day, all of that and more happens in the Discord community, which you can join when you get access to my Patreon at any level. And the link to that is below this video. So be sure to check that out if you desire. But we are going to be doing another writing session. Let's see how many more are left. One more is left. So next Wednesday, we're going to be doing another writing session, our last session of NaNoWriMo. And then from there, we do Write With Me live streams every month, once a month. I'll answer a quick super chat that came in just now from Lauren. Thank you so much. How would you advise someone to begin writing their book when all they know about their book is the overarching themes? That's a great question. What I would recommend doing is go to the video on my channel called How to Find Your Character's Misbelief, because what that process walks you through is basically it takes your theme, it starts with the theme, and from there you can start to build your main characters and figure out their journey and their transformative path, like their journey of change, their transformation throughout the story. And that basically is the story, right? The story is what happens to the characters and why it matters to them. So using that sort of guideline, you can start with your theme, and it shows you how to flip the theme on its head, make it a lie, make it your character's misbelief, and then walks through the process of building your character's misbelief, their past, and the journey that they're going to go on in your book. So I think theme is actually a great place to begin when you are starting to write a book. It's really all about how this theme is going to be the big truth that your character realizes throughout the course of their journey. So hopefully it helps. Definitely check out that video. And thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you all for giving super chats and for participating in this live stream. I wish you the most wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you next week at our last Write With Me live stream of NaNoWriMo. Until then, happy writing. And as always, rock on.